Okay, I'd like to call the special council meeting for Village of Overeem Lake for Tuesday, June 15th to order. Please stand for Pledge of the Flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Duff,
Here.
Dumont,
Dumont's here in
Here,
Colorado.
I am, Colorado.
Jeremy,
Here.
Malik,
Here.
McNutt,
Here.
Nedrow,
Here.
O'Brien.
Here. And this is the first time we've been in council chambers since, what, May of last year, I think?
Well, since the last round of interviews.
Well, yeah, interviews, that's right, last
Yeah.
November.
Yep.
So, wow, glad to be back. Glad to be
Amen.
off a little screen, so
You need a motion to approve the agenda?
that's where we're going, yep.
So make that motion.
Any additions?
Two things, council. Number one, if we could, we do have a recommendation from the village engineer for the purchase of some additional grinder pumps from Commerce Township. We wanted to be able to lock in that rate. So if you could consider adding that to the agenda tonight. I don't think that'll take a long period of time. In addition, it's my understanding that some of the members of council may want to get an update as to where we stand on our collective bargaining negotiations. And if that's the case, we would need to add that to the agenda, and then a 2/3 roll call vote at the time will be necessary to move into closed session.
Okay, so let's do grinder pumps under 7A, and then closed session under 7B.
Perfect.
Is that okay with Mr. Malik?
That's fine.
that.
Motion by Malik, second by Duff, to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That felt good because we had to do a damn roll call vote ever since we were on Zoom. Just had to try it once, so sorry.
Is it even necessary for me to be voting, because I don't believe they count anyways, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct, Dave. So
Okay,
we still want your input, though.
okay.
Okay. Next item, call to the public. I don't believe we have any public here. I don't see any, except for our reporter.
Nice to see you all. Very good.
With that, we'll bypass the call to the public and move on to item 6, which is interview candidates for village treasurer. And we have tonight 2 candidates, I believe, that we're going to have
That's correct.
an interview with. So,
Yep. We originally had a total of 12 applicants for the treasurer's position. Current treasurer Mike Kondak and I screened the applications and identified 2 candidates that we felt were potentially worthy of an interview in front of council. We had a chance to speak with both of them, and both are interested in moving forward with the process. So again, we have 2 candidates for you to speak with tonight.
great.
So,
And I guess as far as format goes, I really didn't have any format set up, so we had some questions that our administrator sent out previous, so well, I guess it's just going to be more of an informal interview, so
yeah, the question, feel free to use the questions if you want.
yeah.
If you have other questions of your own, that list is by no means meant to be exclusive. So,
So with that, I guess we'll start out with our first candidate, which is Sandra Choate, who's actually a Wolverine Lake resident. So happy to see you
all the
here.
way up to the front, Sandy.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Probably had to drive a little further than our administrator did, but not quite as far as Mr.
Not much.
Kondak. So,
Sandra, I have a question. You go by Sandra, Sandy,
I prefer Sandy.
okay?
All right.
And the correct pronunciation of your last name?
Choate.
Choate? Very good. Thank you.
It's all those vowels. Throw people off.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Certainly.
well, from what I could see, you've been in one place for quite a while.
I have.
And
It's like unheard of today.
yeah, I know. And I know that
Very much so.
organization pretty well because I'm a contractor.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, I have some of our labor contracts are with CAM, so. I'm
Okay.
pretty familiar with them, so they're
Wonderful.
very well-run organization, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I imagine a lot of that had to do with you. Sounds like with your career there, so.
I just landed in the right place. And, you know, I was very blessed to land there because I truly, truly enjoyed going there every day. And that was very important to me. Things have changed over the years, but I just love what I do. I love our members. I believe in the organization, and I'm just a lucky lady.
Well, I guess one question I had then would be, it's going to be a little different, a little different situation being a treasurer for a municipality versus a private sector job. And I know you were doing quite extensive work there, so the pace might be a little different also. So I just was curious of what your thoughts were, you know, why you might be looking to change, or,
Well, yeah, that's
I'll tell you how it played out.
why.
My husband read the Spinal Column,
hmm?
and he said, "Do you know that Wolverine Lake is looking for a treasurer?" And I said, "No." He said, "You should apply." And I'm like, And then I thought about it, and I thought about it. And, you know, we always wanted to get involved in our community. And I thought, what a great opportunity. So I applied,
Great.
and Dave called. Yes.
It kind of follows the same, same scenario that Dave had.
It's true, yeah.
So,
Really?
yeah, he joined us as an administrator here in November, and same situation. You've been here for 8 years, so.
Yeah, in the village for 8 years, yeah.
Sandy, how long have you been a resident here in the village?
About 10 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you know, you mentioned that you saw the Spinal Column, and tried it. And what's the biggest reason that you want to be with the village, and why? From what I see on the paper, I mean, since '82 at the same place, you've moved up, you've furthered your education, and you've done really well. So why would you want to leave someplace you've built so much at?
Like I said, the environment has changed somewhat. It is very intense. You know, I do 13 sets of books for various organizations, human resources, building management, blah, 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 you know, whatever. Put out fires and do it all. So a little slower pace was somewhat appealing.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is, like I said, to get involved in my community and get to know people and
You're doing that.
And you can go home for lunch every day.
I'm not used to a lunch.
There's another bonus.
Yeah.
Well,
I won't know what to do with myself.
Our current treasurer, he's been very involved in the village, a lot of functions, and he's been involved with the Onwards and Upwards Committee.
Oh, wonderful.
It'd be hard to replace him, but being a village resident, that might help too, so. But Mike wasn't even a village resident. He's been very involved in a lot of stuff with the village here, so we really appreciated that, so.
I'm sure.
But you obviously know about our village, so wouldn't quite be that difficult, I don't think. so.
It's a wonderful community. We're very blessed to be here. Very blessed.
Sandy, a question. If you're fortunate enough to, or misfortunate, whichever way you want to look at it, to get this position, what is your goal as to time for employment? I mean, length of service? Are you thinking 2-year, 5-year, 10-year?
You know, this might sound crazy. I don't mind working.
I know I'm retired. I wish I had a job.
You know, if I enjoy it and I like where I have to go, I really don't mind working. Now, you know, do I want to be working, 5, 6, 7 days a week? No. No, I want to explore hobbies and interests and all those other things. But if I'm happy, I'll do it for another 10, 12 years. You know, I started at CAM when I was 8. I'm kidding. A little humor.
But I guess what I'm saying is, and this is off the wall. Let's say you're 49 years old, I want to work to 59, 65, 70, strictly depending on how you feel with the
I
environment
don't have a
of the job?
plan, if that's what you're asking. You know, I've never said, well, I want to retire by the time I'm 60 years old. No.
Mhm.
I really don't mind working.
Okay.
Well, a lot of questions I was going to ask probably aren't prudent because you've been at one place for so long. And like I said, that's pretty unheard of, so.
It's
I
so
know.
rare.
I know you've done a fine job there, I'm sure, because people don't keep people forever unless they do a good job anymore, so.
I like to think so.
Now, at CAM, was it accrual accounting or was it fund accounting?
Pretty much accrual accounting.
Okay,
Mhm.
which we're fund accounting, correct? Do you think that's going to be a bit of a problem?
No,
Okay, good.
no. I know accounting,
All right.
and I'll brush up where I need to and do the research and, and work with the CPA firm and, yeah.
Good answer.
Good
So,
challenge.
I know we just put a new software program in BSA, right, Mike?
About a year now, Mr. President.
So are you familiar with that type of system?
I am not familiar with your system, but I instituted new accounting software at CAM
Okay.
a few years ago.
Well, I'm sure Mike wasn't either. We've only had it for a year and a half, so he is now, and I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem for you to pick up, so.
And I would have his phone number. Call him.
Probably a hotline.
If you're lucky, you'll even answer it. So.
As long as he's not on the
As long
golf
as he's not
course.
golfing. Yeah.
Does Mr. Dumont have any questions?
Yeah, Dave, do you have any questions for our candidate?
I don't. Forgive me for not being there. It's nice to meet you, although virtually, Sandy.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay. Well, being a resident, what else do you like to do?
Obviously,
Just
spend time on the water.
Yeah, and just asking as far as personally,
Oh, yeah.
other things, yeah.
We love just tooling around on the water, and I have 2 golden retrievers, so they are swimming all the time. How do you teach them how to ask to go in the water? It's like you take them
They
out for
just
a minute,
go.
it's like, no!
Retrievers just
You know, I got
go,
wet
yeah.
dog.
No such luck.
I know.
They're going.
I had one that would stop and look back and wait for you to tell him to go. It's rare.
But, yeah.
These 2 are no such luck. But you know, it's like being on a vacation every day,
Mhm.
being here. So, I mean, even if you don't go on the boat, you sit on your patio. It's like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, we truly love it. And the fireworks don't get any better. They truly don't. They're
except for
just-
this year, maybe.
Why?
Yeah.
We're gonna double up,
You can dial up.
yeah,
Oh.
since
Oh,
we
how
missed them
exciting.
last year, so, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Mr. Condit, as a possible replacement, do you have any questions for this potential candidate?
Just some points I want to raise with council, if that's okay. Being such a small office, fit is very important. I can tell you that in all the time I've been here, with current staff anyway, there's never been a disagreement, never been we might give each other the stink eye every now and then, but no shouting, no problems, no, everybody picks up the slack, everybody is enthused about doing their jobs. That's a rare thing, and, we described that to Sandy, and I think she's going to fit right in. Just the time we talked to her, we could tell by personality. I think I'm speaking for Dave. I probably shouldn't, but that's the overall impression I got, and I think that's a huge thing. I think that's big. The other thing too is, it's fund accounting is a little bit different. You bring up a great point. I spoke to our auditor yesterday about that, and she was like, well, you can't expect everything from a candidate. It would be ideal if somebody did have governmental experience, but there are so many people she can reach out to, both in terms of the organizations that she can be a member of, the Government Finance Officers Association, the Michigan Treasurers Association. For what it's worth, I'll be around. I keep telling everybody I'm going to disappear like the Cheshire Cat. You know, one of the things about the job is that, like, for example, it would have been ideal for anybody to be here in this month, June, simply because there is so much to do with the preparation of the tax roll. I'm finishing up, you know, closing the books out for the year because our fiscal end, as you know, ends June 30th. And even as much as, and as long as I've done it, and before that, even in Royal Oak, you know, you still, if you're doing something once a year, you kind of got to get, you know, brush back up on certain things. It doesn't always come back immediately. And of course, you're working with other units of government, the county, for example, coordinating different things, where the bills are printed, where they're going to be folded and stuffed, where they're going to be mailed, that kind of thing. Anyway, so FIT's a big deal, I think, given the small office for openers. The educational opportunities are plentiful. In joining some of the, I mean, the village has always been very, I think, forthcoming about being enthusiastic about people taking classes. I've never heard a no for an answer, anybody that ever wanted to sign up for a seminar or anything. And you make a lot of contacts, I think, in the world of your fellow, you know, probably gravitate to places that are smaller. You know, you're not going to be talking to, you know, the big municipalities. And there's where the fund accounting is like, you know, wow, you've got TIFAs and DDAs and things like that, whereas our structure is much more simplified. So I guess by and large, based on what the auditor said, based on, you know, what I know, I think it's fair to say that it's not, I hate to use that term, it's not rocket science, but it's you know, it's easily, someone can assimilate that, I think, pretty well.
Well, thank you. Dave, anything to say at this point?
Cindy, when
Sorry, Dave. The other Dave. I wasn't looking at the phone. I was looking at our administrator. So apologize if you want.
No worries. Forgive me for the confusion.
Okay.
Sandy, I was just going to get your thoughts on moving into a smaller environment and a smaller atmosphere. I mean, CAM, I'm guessing, is a pretty big office and a pretty big outfit. How do you think that transition would
We
work
have
for you?
23 on staff. So it's not super huge, but far more than are here. But we also have tenants in the building, so it doesn't scare me. It doesn't bother me. My number one concern was, what was the environment like? Because I've seen it all over the years. I've seen it all. And you all said that everyone gets along great, and it's a team atmosphere, and they work together, and that's appealing.
One of the things that Mike Kondak told me when I first started talking to him about the job, he said there will be times when there's something that needs to be done, and you look around to find somebody to do it, and you're the only one that can do it. So, I mean, and he was absolutely right. Any issues or problems with having to be hands-on?
Been there. My boss was in Hawaii a few weeks ago, and our roof started leaking, and on Saturday morning, who can I call? So I got in the car and went and put buckets under the leaks. Called the roofer. You do what you have to do.
What is your thought if you are picked for this position and the village can agree with you on compensation? What is your feeling about working where you live?
You know, I thought about that. And, I mean, I don't see any problems. Are people knocking on your doors all the time or anything? I mean,
Well, we're in the same position, you know, we're all residents before we're council people, so.
yeah, I thought about it, but I couldn't come up with any real negatives, I guess.
If you were selected, what would your timing be as far as, I know you're not going to just drop CAM right off the get-go here, so.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no,
No.
not after that long time.
Right.
So how soon could you sign on with us?
If I were given the opportunity, I would give 2 or 3 weeks' notice, but I think that's fair, but I would make myself available for weekends, evenings, to do adequate training, because I don't think I can do it all in 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. You know, it'd be hard pressed to try to replace somebody like yourself in 2 or 3 weeks. But, so.
Now the other David.
Yeah, Dave, Mr. Dumont, do you have anything now?
No, that's the question I wanted to ask.
Okay. Well,
Okay, well, if you were fortunate enough to have an offer to accept, is there anything that CAM could do after they find out that would change your mind?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I don't know, you know. I'm being smart, Alec. I don't know that. I don't know how they'd react.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer that any better.
Well, somebody that's been there as long as you haven't, I would imagine they would react in a certain way to try and retain.
Possibly. Possibly.
I think another way to ask that same question is, this is going to be a dramatic change. Are you ready for that dramatic change? It's going to be slower, smaller, less people. It's not going to be...
Remember that lunch hour I talked about?
Yeah.
Or those weekends, those
To me,
evenings?
it sounds like you're ready for that.
it would definitely save
Well,
commuting
yeah.
time.
Yep.
Well, you know, I have a bucket list, and it's like, oh, you know, I want to do, and you don't, anytime.
Yep.
And a little slower pace is, like I said, it's appealing.
Hypothetically, okay, I'm a neighbor, lives 2 doors away, and I don't like the way the village is doing something, whether it's the police, the DPW. I'm saying, well, you take care of all the money, why can't you have it fixed? What do you tell me?
I just take care of the money. You have to go talk to the
Go to a meeting.
council.
There you go, perfect answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go talk to the council.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get the same thing, I get neighbors that complain.
I would think so.
And I tell them, we have a call to the public, and you don't see them, so.
It's
How
real
bad
easy
can
to
it
walk
be?
next door.
Yeah.
You know, if you really want to complain,
Thank you,
go through the proper channels.
definitely.
You know, and working in a member organization, you never wanted to alienate, offend, make angry any of our members. That's who we work for.
Mhm.
And so that's how I would view the residents as well.
Well, I appreciate your answer, go through the right channels.
Sandy, just to give council an idea as to the type of experience or the breadth of your experience, what kind of services does CAM provide for its members? What kind of things have you been involved in at CAM?
CAM tries to provide everything to the industry that they could possibly need or want. And so we have a monthly magazine. I do the accounting for it. I don't write. We have we have an annual trade show. We have classes and seminars. We have a plan room, a physical plan room location where estimators can come in and do their job takeoffs. We have software where member can get project information and so on and so forth and bid on jobs. We have social outings and numerous events for networking. We publish an annual publication which is known as the Buyer's Guide. In the industry, they call it the Bible of the industry. It's kind of like a yellow pages for construction. I'm going through, there's so much. We have group self-insured workers' compensation. We had health insurance, but that's been bought by Priority. We have a credit union. Like I said, anything. We do podcasts. We
Mass emails.
Yeah, we try to keep, you know, the industry on top of current information. So
They do a well job at it, I'll tell you that.
I'm probably
I
missing
can
it.
attest to it.
We
Yeah.
also manage smaller associations, which is why I have so many books. So I have the mason contractors and the glazing contractors and their industry advancement funds and and so on. So that's kind of a quick snapshot. Then we have our labor side of the house. CAM itself doesn't differentiate between union, non-union, but we have that wing.
Pretty
Did
inclusive.
I miss anything? Because you're a member.
Well, it discounts on,
Oh, that's right.
Like-
Our affinity programs.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yes, and
Staples, UPS.
You covered pretty much everything else. They do a lot, that's
We
for
do a
sure.
lot. So, some of the services that we offer, I was involved in the very beginning. Workers' comp, the self-insured group plan is pretty much where I started. So we kicked that off in 1982. Got that going, and then I moved on from there into accounting, and I'm like, I can do debits and credits. I'm like, I was going to night school. I'm like, figure it out. So,
Have you lived in, well, I mean, previous to Wolverine Lake, where did you, in the area here? I'm
Troy.
sure. Okay.
Troy, I grew up in Trenton,
Yeah.
Michigan, downriver. Yep. And then moved to Troy, and then we had a home in Troy and a home in northern Michigan. And my husband was working a different shift, and we couldn't get up there very often. And he's like, you know what? We should sell both places and just move on the lake and live there. And I'm like, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked the lake, I picked the house. Because some of the ones he took me to, I'm like, no. But thanks.
That was a good way to do it.
Yeah. Well, he wanted a certain size.
Mhm.
So we toured all the lakes, took one
And so
summer,
did you.
Went to all the lakes, yes. And, and then came back here, and I'm like, I love this.
Great.
We all think you picked right.
Oh, absolutely. So when we were looking, there were no houses on the market. So we'd get up every Saturday morning and just drive around. And one particular Saturday, my husband said, today's the day, we're going to find for sale by owner. So he pulled up, and I looked down, and I saw for sale by owner. And I looked at the house, and I looked at him, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, I can do that. He backed up, we called, she goes, give me 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, the rest is history. Well, actually, she took us through it. We chatted with her for quite a period of time, and she's like, we said, we're really interested. She's like, oh, there's an offer on it. No. She said, yeah, but if anything happens, I'll call you. And she did.
Nice.
So, yeah.
It was meant to
Like,
be.
what a letdown. Oh, my gosh.
All the emotions all in one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, one more question. Prior to this, you said you want to get involved in the community. How have you gotten yourself involved in the community prior to this in the last 10 years?
I haven't.
Okay.
I wanted to.
Okay.
I wanted to. Time. I mean, we've done the golf outings, and we try to contribute, and so on and so forth. But have I served on any committees or anything? No.
Well, you could always, if you get the job, ride your bike to work.
Are you kidding me? You're gonna have my husband to drive me over in the pontoon boat. I'm gonna just walk up the road.
Well, there's no place to legally park down there.
I guess there won't be any snow days, huh? I'm kidding.
DNR doc.
Yeah.
You can just drop me off, come pick me up for lunch.
Yeah, right. Where's lunch today? On the lake.
You can bring lunch. Yeah.
Jenny Hansen lived on Ventura and more than once walked to work in the wintertime across the lake.
Yep.
Summer's one thing, winter, nah. Not so much. In the car, heated seats.
Car doesn't warm up fast enough.
It probably won't. I was driving over here and I thought, gosh, if I got this job and I drove here in the wintertime, my windows would still be icy.
I think our administrator has to have his warm up in the driveway for about 5 minutes before he can hop in.
I burn more gas warming the car up than I do driving to work.
10-minute warm up for a 3-minute commute. Right?
But it's very doable in the summer. I used to work at a CPA firm on Pontiac Trail between Welsh and Decker. Took me 3 minutes to get home, made a sandwich on the boat, middle of the lake, sit out there with the dog for 45 minutes, back to the dock, back to
Wow.
work. It was best.
I have never lived that close to where I worked. I mean, I've not been super far, but traffic makes me crazy.
Yeah.
I don't mind driving.
Well, it's not an easy
When you
little trip
can.
over to Cam either, so,
I go early.
yeah, that's the key.
We used to be downtown Detroit for many, many, many years, and hitting that is horrible.
Mhm.
It was horrible from Troy. I mean, I was right off the freeway. I could hop on the freeway quickly, but as soon as you hit like 14 Mile Road, it's gridlock, and I'm like, oh, I can't I'm wasting time. So I'll start going in earlier.
Yep.
We moved out here and it was always a 40-mile trek to work,
Mm.
you know, but when we moved out here, you know, it was still country. So it was, people say, how can you do it? I says, well, I like where I work and I love where I live. And that in between is an unwind, you know. But today, you don't have that with the traffics and different
No.
things. It's a huge difference.
Yes.
And you know, Michael, your in-laws were out here forever. And it was just, God, we moved in, it was at 5 o'clock, we didn't have central air. My wife would close all the windows in the summer because of the dirt roads and people driving home and the dust flying, and, you know.
Oh, wow.
So it changed.
Well, does anybody else have anything?
I'm
Sandy?
good.
Well, do you have anything else for us at this point?
I do. I just have one question. Who does the treasurer report directly to?
Yeah, Mr.
Okay. I thought so, but,
Mhm.
okay.
And then unfortunately, he gets to deal with us.
So anybody who told you that I'm a nice guy, don't believe a word that they say. So,
Anything else?
No questions?
You answered mine. Anything for Mr. Dumont?
Anything from you, Mr. Dumont?
No, but thank you. I appreciate you coming in, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
having
yeah,
me.
thank you
Yes,
for coming
definitely.
in. Thanks for
Thank you.
applying.
Absolutely. I'll be home in no time.
It was very nice meeting you.
Nice to meet all of you as well.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Hi. We like the paper.
Have a good evening.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Those papers on Sunday. Give you what you needed? I'll have to follow.
So Dave, how's the weather in Colorado?
Record heat, warmer than it's been in decades, they said.
Huh.
So it's 90 degrees and miserable outside.
I'm glad it's only like 75 here.
Well, it's actually quite pleasant.
It's beautiful.
My daughter in Phoenix, it was 116 today.
I heard it was 7, yeah.
It's a dry heat, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's why Lake Mead and Lake Powell are at record lows.
It's only 30 feet below. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dry heat. They want water? Still want water?
Yeah, please.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Right up front.
Yep, right here. And we have Joanne Stuffer. So welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I guess, second half of tonight's program, so, tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess.
Well, my name is Joanne Stoffer, and I'm a Commerce Township resident. My husband and I moved to Lake Sherwood about a year ago. Totally love it out there. It's beautiful. I lived in Walled Lake when I was in my 20s. I knew eventually I'd be back out in this area. I'm currently an accounting manager at Ames Construction Livonia, and we're a contracting construction company, and there's 4 locations. We have Columbus, Pittsburgh, we just started West Virginia, and Livonia is our corporate office. I am the accounting department, so I run all four markets. It's very busy, high volume, and but it's fast-paced. I earned my undergrad at Walsh College. My last semester at Walsh College, I was running a campaign, and I was elected in as Southfield Township Treasurer. After the treasurer position, I wanted to go back and do my master's at Wayne State in accounting, and I did that. And after Wayne State, I was recruited into NTCNA. I worked in the vendor tooling as an analyst for about 1.5 years. Then I was promoted over to purchasing project management, and I did all the truck platforms, also the utility van. At that point in time, FCA was recruiting a lot of purchasing people out of the automotive, and I decided to jump and go over to FCA. I worked with the Mopar department with the senior buyers for cost reduction tactics. Unfortunately, about 1.5 years, that department dissolved, and that puts me to where I am currently at Ames Construction. A little bit of personal, love fishing, love to be outdoors. I love to read, run, very active, and like to be part of the community.
Great. I guess if we were to choose you, how long would you feel you'd want to hang around? I mean,
Oh, I still have a lot of years left. 10-plus years. I don't, and quite honestly, I read the spinal column, and I wasn't necessarily looking for a position, but when I read about what happened with Kathy, I used to eat at Woody's, and I felt that I needed to do this because I had the experience. Back in 2004, it's been a while, but at least, I have a lot of contacts still. A lot of my friends are still treasurers and city clerks and city managers, and I think a lot of people at the county has moved on, but there's just, I love the community that the municipal area brings. So I wouldn't want to leave.
Okay, well, great.
Just so you know, we also have a council person listening in on that phone next
Oh, yeah.
to you.
Yeah, so he's right there.
Dave, right?
Yep, Dumont, he's in Colorado currently, so.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Joanne. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
It's a shame it has to be virtual, but I am in Colorado right now, so I couldn't make it, and this was a way to expedite this interview.
So with that, questions? Bob?
Well, no, let me start with Michael.
Okay.
How do you feel and what's your thoughts? You gave us some input.
Yeah, Joanne, I would ask the question of you, are there times when you get into it with your fellow workers? This is a very close-knit group. We don't fight. Everything's pretty laid back in that regard. Not necessarily that we socialize and do all kinds of things together, but during the course of a day, everybody seems to want to volunteer and have each other's back and that sort of thing. I just wonder what your experiences have been in that regard, and if you've had confrontational issues or things like that, how you handled them, how you would handle them.
I've always been a team player. I think that there's always going to be a little conflict if there's a few views that need to be looked at, but as long as you all can come to a conclusion. But I like that small knit. I was in corporate world, and that's not what I liked because I was just a number. I'd rather be a person. And I'm a representative. If I became the treasurer, you're a representative of the community. You have 4,300 residents here in the village, and your work isn't always necessarily done at Friday at 5. If you're out and about on a Saturday and you're asked a question, I'm not going to say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not at work. You have to be on 24/7, and I would give that.
Have you been involved in, or to what extent have you been involved in budgeting? That'll be question one, and then question two to follow up with that. How about the audit procedures?
Budgeting, I did that with the township. I worked with the clerk, and we did the budget for Southfield Township. Currently, I am working with Ames Construction, and I also do the budget. I don't finalize the budget. I forecast what needs to be done, and then I hand it over to the CPA, and then they follow up with that.
Hands-on during an audit procedure, audit process? End of year, closing of the books, that sort of thing.
Audit was forensic accounting is what I studied for my master's. Auditing I don't do with the current position just because that would be a conflict of interest. I did work with the auditors when I was treasurer at the township. Of course, give them every information that they need, work through any issues or questions. There never was, so it was just a matter of, getting through the paperwork, but everything was always in line.
Joanne, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. I hear the term forensic accounting all the time. What does that really mean?
It's just a deep dive. I wanted to go into estate planning, forensic accounting, but there's additional school that I would have had to done, and so I just minimized and just did a minor in forensic accounting. So it's just really looking at all the assets that a person has, finding out, details, and actually go into a house and you research and try to find details in a mattress, in a box. People just bring stuff to you, and you have to go through and audit that, just to try to get, if they don't have a will.
Kind of like when you got here, Mike.
Yep.
Can you give me an idea of AIM Construction? Is that, what size company is that? How many employees do they have? Or
Well, with 4 markets, we're small. It's a family-owned business. We have roughly 50 employees. It's growing just because of West Virginia, and Pittsburgh is just hopping. We have a lot of business down there. We're a multi-million-dollar company, a lot of money in and out, because we are a contracting company, so I deal a lot with our subcontractors, the clients. I'm the one person that they deal with when people contact Ames Construction for accounting. So I would consider it a mid-size, almost going up to large. If West Virginia kicks off the way they expect it, it's definitely going to be.
do you have any direct reports as accounting manager, or are you the
Straight to the
only
owners.
person? Straight to, so you're
Yeah.
the only person in accounting? You're
Yes.
doing it all?
I'm doing it all.
Wow.
I know.
Well,
But, it gets done. I'm very organized. You have to be organized in that type of situation. I consider myself type A. To a point, I know how to not focus on one thing. I know how to focus on 10 things at once, because that's how it goes in my position. If anybody wasn't organized, they couldn't keep up. And when I first started Ames Construction, they didn't have anybody in that position for a few months. I came in and they had quite a bit of money in their AR aging. And I know as an accountant that you need to get that money in, money out. There's a lot of people waiting on that money. So they had about 3.4 million that were aging in the AR, and I brought it down within 90 days to 10K. And it was simple. I mean, you just had to do, again, forensic accounting, trying to figure out what's wrong, why aren't they paying? And I build clients that way as well. Because we work with Beaumont, Ascension, Trinity, St. Joe's, DMC, U of M. We deal with UPMC down in Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. I deal with a lot of high-end, upper people. And you have to learn to adapt as well, because you go from a sub that wants payment for $100 to, why aren't you paying my $400,000 invoice? So it's a lot.
Mike had mentioned about us being a small office with a few people. If something was to happen or occur that something needed to be done and people are busy and doing whatever, what's your thought and feeling about, well, I guess I got to step up and do this also? Over and above maybe sitting at your desk and working your computer and working on the numbers.
I would have no issue with that. Again, I'm a team player, and I do that now. I mean, I'll even answer the phone if the phone rings after 3 times, because I feel I'm upper management, and if that phone call doesn't come through, that could be a client. So I do pretty much a lot there. And I help with the project managers as well, running reports that they can't figure out. We had a new system come in a few years ago, and nobody knew it. And Sage it's an animal, but you took time to learn it. And I took the computer home and learned it on the side, so I was able to help with other aspects other than my job.
You know, also the village is very open as to, excuse me, letting council, their employees, if there's classes and things available, do you have an interest if there was something in accounting or budgeting to step up? I see, you know, you've not been shy about schooling. Would that be something that would interest you possibly?
Absolutely.
You know,
I think we spoke about that in the first interviews. I did a lot that with Southfield Township. I mean, I know it's a different township versus village. It's a different avenue, but that's where I got a lot of my friends still, just from that type of networking. And yes, the classes there, you know, I would be particular on which ones because I've been there and done that, but definitely if it was something that I could learn, especially with governmental accounting. I haven't been in it for a while. I'd have to pick up my few books, you know, but there's books out there, the yellow book or the blue book they used to call it. I haven't had one since 2008, so I'd have to definitely look at that just to make sure, but, you know, accounting is accounting, the GASB and GAAP and all that good stuff.
Have you, looking through your resume, have you had any dealings with collective bargaining at all in your history?
No, I have
Okay.
not.
Just curious.
does Mr. Dumont have any questions since he's?
Hey, Dave Dumont
Yes.
from Colorado. Any questions?
I do.
There you go, Mr. Mallett.
Okay, well, he's there, I figured, let's find out.
Yep. Anybody else?
Well, I appreciate that, Bob.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure we're still on the line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? Around?
Yeah. You talk about going in your current position with a company that is growing and expanding and could really take off. And here, we're in a community that's pretty much built out. You know, we've got 4,300 people. That number is not going to change a lot. Those kinds of things aren't going to change. You know, so it's going to be it'd probably be a very different environment. And what is it about that environment, this slower environment, that appeals to you?
I live in the area. You know, I come from I'm from mid-Michigan, so I'm a farm girl. So I come from a small country, you know, St. Louis, Michigan is where I was born and raised. And, you know, I like the slower pace type of thing. And I like the smaller community. Again, I was in corporate. I didn't like corporate just because, you know, walking up and there's thousands of people. And I like to know who I'm working with, and I like to you know, because we'll get a good relationship just because it is a small little council, and, you know, but that's just something that I would enjoy to do. I could bring in what I have experience with the corporate and the city into this environment. I'm ready to make a change.
Good. Mark?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
Pretty straightforward, answer. Yeah?
And I'm who, you know, and I did this with the first time, this is who I am. I wasn't gonna come in and try to be anybody else except for who I am, because, you know, I do have the experience. You know, I enjoy working. I am 3.6 miles away. It's very easy to come, and you definitely want somebody in the area because, again, you're a representative of the community, and you have to be on. And, you know, even if you're out at Saturday in the morning, you can't just not talk to a citizen. And I'm very, 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 and I would definitely, you know, help the citizen
Well,
if they have a
speaking
question.
of community, I mean, our current treasurer has been very involved with Onwards and Upwards Committee with the village, and spent a lot of time and helped out quite a bit with that organization, so that would be, that's going to have a hole, but.
It's a 501c3 for community events and community promotion, and it starts small, and it seems to be, you know, growing, and their goals are expanding in terms of being helpful. Its chief we'll call it its chief role, I think, is to raise money to augment or help defray the cost of the fireworks show, which is every year on July the 3rd.
And when Mike moves on, they'll be looking for somebody to keep their books for him, too.
I know.
Big shoes to follow.
That's where I was hinting at.
And one of the other things, if you're fortunate enough to get the position, you'll find it a close-knit community. Okay, I mean, the people here on council, like I said before, we're all residents before we're council people, okay? And even David now is also, except for Mike, David's also a resident, you know. So, and you'll have people throwing questions at you and, you know, saying hello and ignoring you. It's just way of life, so.
We tried to buy in Wolverine Lake, and every house that went up, we'd look at it, and it was sold the next day. So we tried. There was one house, and it was just way too small. We wanted it on the main lake, so yeah, the timing just was not. There was a yellow house with a nice red star on it, and I wanted it, and we drove, there was already 3 offers, so we tried.
They don't stay too long.
They
so.
don't.
I have no other questions.
Mark?
I'm good. Thank you.
Mark? Dave? Anything you want to add?
John, I just had one question for you.
Sorry, I was going to preface that,
Oh.
Mr. Dumont. That's our administrator, Dave.
Yeah, didn't mean to step on Colorado, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned before that when you worked for Southfield Township, you were an elected official. You were the treasurer there. You obviously would not be an elected official here, but these 7 all are. Do you see that as a benefit? Is that going to help you in this job? And if so, how do you think it would help you in this job?
Being appointed is a lot easier than being elected, because doing a campaign, that's difficult, and I applaud all of you guys, because I know how hard it is to become an elected official. I think having the township experience will help us with the village, because I'm familiar with the forms and everything that needs to be done at the township level. I'm sure nothing really has changed from 2004 till now. I'd be anxious and excited to meet the township treasurer and get a relationship with them as well and work tight with them. I think that's important. I worked with the villages, with Franklin, Bingham, and Beverly Hills. I knew them quite well. I'd visit and I'd help them. I actually would help Franklin several times with taxes, because they didn't have a deputy. They didn't have anybody else in the office to help. And in fact, my deputy still is deputy of the township at Southfield, so she's stayed on that long. So I would definitely bring in that knowledge. And yeah, I was thinking about that today, and it's the PRE and all the exemptions and, homestead, non-homestead, that stuff is still like it was yesterday. So I definitely would bring that to the table here.
Okay.
I'm good.
Good.
All good. Mr. Dumont, anything else?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have anything for us?
No, I think I'm
Okay.
all set.
All right, very good. Well, with that,
Okay.
I think we're all set for this evening. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
applying and coming in.
Thank you so
Nice
much,
to meet
Sheila.
you.
Taking your time.
Very nice meeting you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Nice to see you too.
Those are the pits in my bond, too.
I'm trying to remember if or did I say grinder pumps was A or B?
Hey.
That's what I thought. I didn't write it down.
Obviously,
I did.
Well, before we,
Grinder pumps was A.
Isn't it crazy?
discussion, I guess, huh? On candidates before we move.
We can have discussion now, or we can handle the other items. It's up to council, so.
I might as well stay on the interview right now, huh? At this point? Well, what everybody think?
Well, they both had they both had positives. I really liked Sandy. She had just a ton of experience, not in village type work, but in everything else. Joanne definitely had a little bit of municipal experience. I think either would be good.
I like the longevity with Sandy, where she's been at one place and moved up.
Right.
And, furthered her education to do so, and while working there. So, I mean, that in itself was, impressive in that regards. And, knowledge of accounting, it's a great base, and building on that would be relatively easy in regards kind of gaining the knowledge to be able to make the switch.
Seems like she's done a lot of other things in that organization too.
Right.
Yep.
From the bottom up, she basically.
Right. So she knows it inside out. So, I mean, that was a big positive.
Mark?
I thought that Sandy offered a lot, and like everybody said so far, experience, and having seen that she's worked at the same place for so long, but through multiple positions and worked her way up, she's had to take on an array of tasks that are perhaps broader, but within that same place. So, like working here, where sometimes you're not, even though you're the treasurer, you're doing things that are well outside of that typical role in the village. And Joanne, I think would be more than capable. I don't know how, I mean, it's been a long time since she's had the municipal experience. And she's jumped around a little bit in terms of different types of jobs, like the purchasing manager and things like that. But I think she'd also be more than capable of doing the job. But I like that Sandy's had a little more experience with auditing and things like that as well.
Bob?
Well, I agree with Mark on some items, but one thing I looked at on the resumes, neither one of them are job jumpers, okay? That you can see. Sandy brings a different perspective, but she also has age on her side, which creates since '82 till present in the position she's in, okay? Joanne is more on the youthful side, so she doesn't have but she's been at her job since 16. So that's 5 years, okay? Add her age to Sandy's, and I'm using my own thoughts here, okay? She would probably be at that position with that company for almost as many years as Sandy has been. So it's a tough choice in regards to what they bring to the table there. But Sandy brings much more, in my eyes, with the experience, okay, that, with the budgets and different things. But yet, Joanne, and I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here, she has some experience with township people and things, okay? So I lean towards Sandy, and I'll say that right up front, but I'm not dissatisfied in what Joanne presented to us either.
Agreed.
And I'm not dissatisfied at all, okay? Again, I'm looking at, being an elder statesman, and looking at the age factor and what she's put into it. So.
Mark?
I guess I kind of echo the same thing. I think both candidates bring a lot to the table. My only question, and maybe I should have asked this, but whatever, hindsight. Clearly, she only stayed for one term as treasurer. So, why? I guess should have been something I asked, but that was essentially 3 years experience, and then she moved on to something else. And again, looking at it, yeah, she's definitely qualified. But I think that Sandy brings a lot more to the table, and I think she'll fit in a lot better.
Mr. Dumont?
Yeah, I things said before me. First of all, it's great that we have two good candidates.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If I had to lean, and I'm going to tell you it's a gentle lean, I would lean in Sandy's direction, and it's based on the experience. And really, that's it. I've got both their resumes in front of me, and they do similar work, though not the same. But I also would lean towards Sandy if I had to pick one. And since I am not voting tonight, it doesn't matter.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
I had the same thoughts as a lot of you guys. I was kind of intrigued by both candidates of when we asked them why Wolverine Lake. I mean, I thought Joanne's, I never would have dreamt that she said what she said about Kathy and the situation. You know, she's a small town gal, sounds like. I mean, St. Louis is not big, that's obviously. So, you know, there's a lot of, she probably wanted to get back. I could see her going into the Chrysler Tech Center and going, eh. But Sandy, very well qualified. I mean, like we said, she's come up, you know, from the bottom up in an organization. She's been there the whole time, which is unheard of anymore, almost. And her reason to give back to the community is, like I said, very similar to what we heard last November with our administrator, so, and a couple other employees that we have around here, so. It's a tough decision, it really is.
Yeah.
Both candidates bring a lot to the table. I think Sandy's a little bit more personable, but let me ask our treasurer a question as far as accounting goes, because I know.
Oh, as far as accounting.
I know the difference, there is a difference between.
Yeah, fund accounting and.
Fund accounting.
As Bill pointed out, accrual accounting, yeah. I think both of them are intelligent enough to catch on, particularly with, you know, training opportunities that would be available to them. The only thing that gives me a little pause, if I can, you know, go off track a little bit here, was when Mike asked Sandy about, back up. In Joanne's case, I'm ready to make a change. Boom, here I am.
Right.
Whereas with Sandy, you got the impression that, you know, the 40 years of experience at the same place, you know, the ties that bind, right? She didn't sound like, you know, when Mike asked her, like, well, what happens when you put it to him? What do you think's going to happen? She didn't know. What do you think they might do? You know, she didn't know. She didn't sound like she's as willing to make that break. That's the only, you know, not fly in the ointment kind of thing, at least from my perspective.
Right.
But no, from an accounting standpoint, they'll both be fine.
Okay.
You know, I picked up when that question was asked, one thing she said, she's been working 6 days, there are a lot of extra hours in the evening, and I know I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and I just had the conversation with someone who worked at it doesn't change soon, I'm just going to retire.
You start to get burned out.
It beats you up.
Yeah.
It does beat you up.
Right.
And I think I kind of took what she said, you know, I understood it because I'm feeling it, and I think what she was saying is she's ready to slow it down a little bit.
Yes, I agree with that. I got the same impression.
Not only that, if I may, when you stop and the question was valid, okay? But when you stop and think, she's conscientious enough that she has been committed to the job she's been at. So it isn't just, you know, pull the string and let's run.
Yep, that's right.
So you gotta, at least I look at it that way, all right? You know, I worked at companies and after X amount of years, I said, okay, I'm burnt out too, I'm gonna go another direction. But then you stop and you think and you talk to management and you know, which way do I go? And then you have to make a decision, what's best for me, whether it's mentally, reward-wise as far as the pay goes or the distance to work, whatever. So she's been there and she has a commitment to those people. She's not just gonna pull the plug. So in her defense is what I'm looking at.
Well, again, I think the two of them are in different phases of their careers, too.
Right.
I think that, again, Sandy is looking to, kind of in your example, that 6 days a week thing just isn't happening anymore.
Right.
As where Joanne kind of echoed the opposite, where she was willing to do Saturdays and stuff. So, you know, again, I think we're looking at two different phases of careers. And I think that the latter, in terms of Sandy's case, I think is going to be the better fit.
Well, going along the same thought there, I mean, so, you know, Sandy's been working for a pretty good-sized group. And basically, she's got a, you know, she's top-tier financial situation going. So I don't know if that'll, you know, both candidates, I guess what I'm saying is our pay scale going to work into both their,
If I can, David, what did you feel or see?
I mean, well, just to answer Brian's question, I mean, they were both aware of what the
job
salary
paid.
range was and
Okay.
and the benefit package that was, excuse me, included in the advertisement that we put out through GovHR. So,
Okay.
The salary, and I don't remember in our conversations with either of them, the issue of salary ever really being an issue or a question. So,
You know, another thing I found interesting, both of them said they picked it up out of the spinal column. So, you know.
There we go.
That's right there.
So thank you.
Good deal, Ann.
Good job.
But I mean, to answer Bob's question, I guess, back up for just 1 second further. Mark, for the question that you said you thought maybe you should have asked or thought about asking, as I recall, when we were talking with Joanne, I think the reason that she didn't run for reelection was because she had children at home.
Family commitments,
And
right.
it was family
Exactly.
commitments. And so she wasn't willing to commit all the hours at that point in time, the evening meetings and everything else that goes along with being an elected official that you guys know about. So, Bob, to your question, I mean, I guess, number one, I mean, I've kind of gnashed my teeth over this because they're both very good candidates. But for selfish reasons, I would have to say that neither one of them will be able to step in and hit the ground running that Kathy Behrens would have been able to.
That's true.
Right.
If we had kept her. Having worked with Kathy in the past, personally, that would have been a plus for me. But things are what they are, and you have to move on, type thing. I think they're both good candidates. I think Joanne, on paper, may have a little bit more of the technical skills because of her background in local government. But on a more personal level, I just see a lot of parallels between my path and where Sandy is at right now. I can relate to a lot of things in terms of the long days and the long hours and all the evening meetings that I was going to before, as opposed to being closer to home and not having been able to be involved in the community, to get actively involved in the community, and then now being able to do that, and a good way to do it is through the employment. So, I mean, they're both good candidates. I think both would work. I think with either one, I think we're going to have to rely on Mike, and he and I have talked about this, and I know he's given it serious thought, and he's willing to kind of hang around. I mean, not on a full-time basis necessarily, but to make himself available for whoever we pick to help them make the transition going forward. And I know that I appreciate that. I'm sure all of you do.
Absolutely.
Do too. But in terms of fit, which, as everybody has said, and I would agree, is very important in this small atmosphere, I think Sandy is a better fit than Joanne is.
Mr. President, you want a motion?
Sure.
I would make a motion that we extend an offer of employment for treasurer to Sandy Choate.
Second.
To direct administration to
Yep.
Negotiate.
negotiate it. So that was a motion by Duff, second by
Giamatti.
Giormini.
Giamatti,
Any
excuse me.
discussion?
I would just add then that any eventual offer of employment will be subject to the normal things, the
Yep.
background investigation,
Mhm.
physical examination, things like that.
I know Mr. Dumont can't vote. but
Yeah,
does he have
so-
any input?
So with that, roll call vote, please.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Sorry, Dave. But thanks for your input.
Sure.
Well, with that-
I voted the same way, so it would have been unanimous as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. Well, I guess I'd like to thank both candidates for
Yeah,
coming in.
no,
I mean,
I-
I think they're both very well qualified and,
I'd also like to,
The candidate that was not accepted or preferred picked, will we send something to her in the matter of a letter, or you just phone call, or?
I told each of them as they were leaving tonight that I will talk with them, if not tonight, tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
okay.
okay.
And I'd like to thank you two for presenting such strong candidates.
Right.
You know, appreciate it.
Whittling it down.
Yeah,
to-
giving us,
Yeah.
we whittling it down, doing all the work to present them, so thank you very much.
yeah, there were potentially some other good candidates in the pool, but Mike and I both agreed right from the get-go that these are the couple that we felt that council should focus in on.
No, you guys
So-
did a very good job.
Yeah.
After all the different interviews that we've done, well, at least I've been a part of with council and everything, these are by far two of the best candidates I've seen. So,
So both candidates were easy to talk to, easier to question. They were easy in their presentation back with their answers. You know, it wasn't like you're fishing and pulling stuff out. I mean, they were willing to speak to you and give you their point of view.
Yeah, both were very comfortable.
Comfortable,
Yeah.
confident,
Yeah, confident. yeah.
personal, yep. Very strong.
Well, good. Well, I think we had a good choice tonight.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy for me, but, I mean, both of them, again, were very good, so.
Definitely.
Difference between an A and an A plus, right?
Yeah,
That's what
exactly,
you're trying
yeah.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
With that, I guess,
We'll go on to grinder pumps.
move on to grinder pumps and look where Mr. Dumont is. Using our grinder pump.
Council, I spoke last week and then spoke again today with our engineer, Mike Powell. Mike indicated that he had been contacted by Commerce Township. Commerce Township let Mike know that they were getting ready to order another installment of the grinder pumps. We did some checking today. At this point, we've gone through 9 grinder pumps so far this fiscal year. As of today, the latest number we have, and I agree, I know it's an IFCOM, we're not there yet, but as of today, we now have 23 residents that have signed up that are interested in potentially joining an SAD to connect to the sewer. So there appears to be growing interest in the SAD, which would potentially mean more pumps down the road. We have somewhere between 6 and 10 pumps in stock right now. Powell has recommended that we go ahead and order an additional 20 pumps from Commerce Township at this point in time at the current price of $3,340 per pump. So that would be a total of $66,800 for the 20 pumps. Again, that would give us the benefit, us and our residents, the benefit of the price before it starts to creep up any higher.
And I'm assuming it will.
yeah.
They've already gone, you mentioned, they've already gone up 10% this year.
From
Since
what
the
we-
last time we bought.
From the last time we bought
Yeah.
which was, I think was about a year ago, they've gone up roughly 10%.
Mr. Condit, how does our budget sit for $66,800?
I'm glad you asked that question. It really isn't an expenditure or an expense because basically we're converting one asset to another.
Right.
We're paying cash for something that we're going to hold in inventory. So as far as the bottom line or whatever, no effect.
And it comes out of the water fund, which has got plenty of funding in it, so.
But what happens if the SAD doesn't go through?
If
Then
the
we
one
have-
doesn't go through.
We have 30 grinder pumps in inventory.
yeah.
Okay, well,
So-
I'm just saying, but it's $66,000.
Yeah.
So, and if the SAD don't go through, we paid for it now.
Well, if
No,
I'm not
it's water
mistaken,
Okay.
we ran a SAD down Shanken, and I signed up, but I did not get the grinder pump installed because they brought it in one year after I put a brand-new septic field in.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do any work on my septic field. I'll have to go to a grinder pump at some point. So those people that are still, that signed up, and they're still on, they're still gonna need a grinder pump at some point. So even if the other SAD doesn't go through, I'm sure we have a number of
There's still gonna be
like
people that are hooking up,
myself.
yeah.
Well, like I say, I just, I want to make sure that, we got the money to do it.
Like our treasurer said, there's already been 10 this year, 9 this year that we've had hooked up, right?
Right.
So
How many grinder pumps?
This
9.
fiscal year, 9.
9 so far, yeah.
And
9 so far this year.
And how many they want to buy?
20.
20.
And you said we have 6 to 10 in?
Right now, yes.
Mr. President?
But we were hoping for like 30 on that
That's who you
SAD.
asked.
That was running around, right?
That's who you
So,
asked.
I mean, that would essentially
That
eat
could very well
basically
be,
everything we have up.
because-
so.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion
Can't
that
lose
we.
those.
Well, was your question, that seems a little bit vague? It isn't. We keep tabs on those. I just didn't run the number for tonight. But we know exactly how many we
All
have.
right.
Right.
6 to 10. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we purchase the 20 grinder pumps recommended by Engineer Powell.
Second that motion?
With Commerce Township.
Yep.
Motion by Duff, second by Melick. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, no, roll call vote, we're spending money. Caught myself.
Malik,
Yes.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
I was trying to get away with another non-roll call vote. Anyways, moving on to closed session, I guess, so we need to have 2/3 vote to go into closed session, right?
Yes, if council would like to move into closed session to discuss some collective bargaining strategy, yeah, we will need a motion to that effect and then a 2/3 roll call
Mr. President, I'd
vote.
like to make a motion that we go into closed session pending the outcome of the vote.
Okay, motion by Duff.
Second.
Second by Jeremini.
No.
Roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Who got?
I thought Mr. McNutt was second.
That was close.
Flip the coin.
Photo finish. He's good.
You ready?
Yep.
Yep.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Motion passes, okay. We can go into closed session here.
Yeah, and council, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think when we come back out of closed session, we're going to have any other action other than to adjourn.
Just to adjourn,
So-
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for
See ya.
coming.